Alright, well, this is the Friday Night SmackDown group. And I am starting a campaign called The Burning Sky. So, welcome to everybody. I'm sure everybody will have fun, but we got a few things to go over. You know, session 0 and all. So we're going to do introductions and play styles and all that good stuff tonight. Of course, we're going to create our characters, and I'm going to actually put that at the end of the list. We'll do that after we go through the rest of this agenda. Most of this is kind of short, so it's not too crazy, but so house rules and attendance, and world and campaign, accessibility, and I'll create an adventure log. That's a spreadsheet that has a rundown of pretty much like just what the adventure is on, and you know, if there's any like items, gold, or you know, any money at all and stuff like that. This will be, I wouldn't normally track your food and water as a group, but this is going to be a resource sensitive campaign, so you'll have to keep a good log of your food and water, and that'll just do that with your character sheet, and then we will discuss payment. As for me, my name is Thorin. Pretty much everybody calls me Thor. I've been DMing since at least 1989. I think 1989 is when I started. And the first time I ever ran a game, it was Palladium, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Other Strangeness. And I just got into it after that, and although there have been hiatuses, I never really stopped loving it, so I still do it. And I am also an artist and professor of animation and art history, father and husband. My play style is usually, I don't know that there's necessarily a usual, but I will say that I am not really a Matt Mercer style DM. I'm not really like I am not a fast talker, and I am not a high stimulation kind of a person. I'm more of a slow burn kind of a person, and things will kind of unfold slowly and require a wide attention span, and there will also sometimes just be tangents and sidetracks that don't really relate to the primary point of the mission, but you know, they're just there for fun, and also to get XP and treasure and stuff. So my meta role is DM. My plans and hopes and dreams for this is it's going to be, I plan and I hope to have a campaign that is, it's going to kind of feel like Mad Max, slash, obviously not like futuristic. You're not going to be searching for gasoline all the time, but in that ballpark, that's going to be kind of the tone and how it plays out. This is a campaign world that's very accessible, so it could end up that you end up leaving this land and just letting it burn. So I don't know, we'll see how that goes. I don't want to, I'm not the type to railroad the PCs necessarily, but if if you like, usually I'll follow the adventurer in a linear way, but I guess what I'm saying is you shouldn't, like, don't play your character like you're waiting for the story to happen to them. Like, your character should just be proactively making the story happen. You know what I mean? Just don't be shy about jumping in there and mixing it up. And RP is very valued and something I enjoy, so I hope to see that. I'm not expecting anyone to be a voice actor. I will do some voices and others I will not. So that just goes the way it goes. When you are playing my game, you should know that you have to be a team, regardless of roleplay, regardless of alignment, regardless of any character creation decisions. You have to work with each other in cooperation, not against each other in competition. I do not allow party infighting or any kind of, like, snatch and grab loot while nobody else is looking and just pocket it, and stuff like that is not tolerated. So keep that in mind. So that is most of what I have to say at this time. And by the way, I'm located in Michigan, mid-Michigan, so if you were wondering. You don't have to give your location if you don't want to, but why don't we introduce ourselves as players for the moment and kind of go through this little bullet here: name, preferred playstyle, preferred meta role, and any plans or hopes and dreams that you have, starting with whoever wants to jump in.
All right, I'll go. I'm Lucas, and I'm in Alabama. Um, Preferred play style. I don't know. I mean, I play different roles. There's a few I don't play. Like I usually don't play any type of holy class because it's just something that I don't like. Um, and I really don't care for rogues. I don't have a problem playing with rogues. I just don't like playing them. But other than that, I like all the other classes. Um, but I do like to fill a slot. This time I do plan to go for a healer slot because I didn't see anybody talking about that, so figured that was a safe bet. Um, Been playing D&D for probably 4 or 5 years now. I've DM'd myself. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. And with the healer role, with my campaign, you are going to want to have proficiency in medicine, and you are going to want to have med kits.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yep, I already got that's already planned out.
Okay, right on.
I already do that anyway. When I do healer rolls, I usually pick up the healer feat also. So that way whenever I use med kits, they have charges and all that kind of stuff and
Who's who's next?
I can go next. So I'm Darius. I am in Chicago. In terms of play style, I feel like I usually end up playing someone who is magically inclined or has some type of outer worldly power, whether that be like from a deity or whatever it would be. In this campaign, I'm hoping to be a wizard, um, maybe a fighter. I'm leaning more towards wizard. Um, and for the plans, hopes, and dreams, I've it's been a little bit since I played D&D. I played it a few years ago with my old coworkers before I got a new job. But I've been watching a lot recently, so I'm just hoping to get into it again, like actually play instead of watch. So it's fun. Uh, I, I don't think I'm missing anything. Did I skip a question? So, but yeah,
pretty much.
so super excited to play.
I can go next. My name's Bryce. I'm in South Bend, Indiana. Preferred play style. This will be my second campaign. So my first campaign I played a ranger. This round I think I'm gonna be more inclined to play something with a little bit more physical combat. And plans, hopes, and dreams. My previous campaign, I wasn't very comfortable in the RP side of things, and so I guess my hopes for this campaign is to get more comfortable with RP. And I guess, yeah, that's me.
All right, I guess I'm last. All right, so my name is Sean. I'm from Baltimore. You know, you might hear a little Baltimore. He's in my top.
All right.
I have played a cleric in the past. Again, just like, Bryce, this is only my second campaign I've ever been in. So, it's going to be some adjustments, some getting into it. I'm playing a barbarian for the first time, so hopefully that's it's going to be pretty different for me. Usually I like playing support classes, I think, but I decided to try to branch out with this. I will say I'm not taking the god that makes me want to kill wizards. So if that affects, if you were thinking about that, then don't worry about it. Yeah, and my plans, hopes is to just have fun doing this. I really want to get more into the RP side of things, and just have something cool to do on a Friday night.
Yeah. All right. I like it. And then character generation we're going to come back to, so I can just go through this stuff first. Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's a duplicate page. Whoops. So house rules I have kind of, since a few months ago, I have it lumped into the world book document, so it's all, it used to be two documents, now it's all in one. So I do want to go through some of that. If you weren't able to find the link to that document, it's in the pinned messages in the lobby, and I'm gonna pop it into chat right there as well. And let's
Quick question: how long? Sorry.
Go ahead.
How long have you been working on this world? Because you have like so much information and it's so detailed. It's really cool.
It depends on how you look at it, but I've been working on it. Like, I started creating it in like 1989, and it's, just started as a few scraps of paper and typed some things here and there and just sort of cobbled together this and that for a few years. And then I kind of tried to bring all that together, and then it's sort of been like a series of a few decades of doing that, like different things that I've, like notes I've jotted down for whatever we're doing at the moment, and then I lump it in with the main document at some point. And so after like 30 years of doing that, this is what I have.
Cool.
This document is not complete, and there are fewer parts that just sort of trail off than there used to be, but there's still a few there. And there are still some parts with placeholder text. If you see Greek that starts with lorem ipsum, that's just placeholder text. Some people ask me, what is this Greek? What does lorem ipsum blah 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 mean? I was like, I have no idea. It's just placeholder text. So that's roughly, in a nutshell, that's where that came from. So I did a few things with the rules and with the world. Most of the rule changes are either in the player's favor or made to push the game in a direction that I want to go with RP or story or even just mechanically. So the details are kind of throughout the document. You should know I don't use point buy. You already noticed that. What I normally would do is 4d6 drop lowest, and you can re-roll ones, and that's going to give you some pretty good stats most of the time. I've never seen really a bad stat line come out of that. In some cases, I've done. Some of the players really like this, but it's more in depth and it's more time consuming to create your characters. But it's kind of a fun in between point that kind of blends gambling with point buy. So what you do is roll 3d6 top down, and you're rolling your adolescent character. So this is your character at 13 years old if they're a human being, or whatever is the equivalent for the race you chose. And then you take 4 years to train, and you can use that training like there's one thing in the book that lets you train proficiencies, and it says it's 250 days for a proficiency, so I use that. That's just rules as written, and then I don't use ASIs for every 4 levels. Instead, you train your abilities. So it's more advantageous in the sense that you can do it anytime you want and as much as you want. I mean, there are limits, but you can do it. I'm going to share my screen on the Discord so that you can follow along with where I'm at. But it also costs money and time to train. So, and I allow downtime for training, and RP and stuff. It's generally a good opportunity for RP and character development. So, most spells have been house ruled to consume their spell components. Not all of them, but most of them. There are some spells, some more that I plan to change, that have been made more potent or changed in some way. Mostly made more potent. There are species or races, if you like, that have minimum and maximum ability scores, which is not the norm for 5th edition. They don't usually have that as part of the design philosophy, but and everybody has a maximum level they can attain if you're going to be multi-classing. And I don't do death saves. When you get dropped to 0 hit points, if you get exactly 0, you drop and you're unconscious but stable. You won't lose any more hit points. And as soon as somebody can tend to your wounds, you'll be able to regain consciousness. If you drop below that to a negative number, you are unconscious and bleeding out, and you will lose 1 hit point every round that your wounds are not taken care of. And when you get to negative constitution is when you are dead. So actually, I think that's worded wrong. I think you can get to negative constitution, and then when you get 1 past it, you're dead. And you will only... PC death is by consent only. If you don't want to die, you don't have to. What the DM says goes. Golden rule. The RPG game sessions are made fun much more by the people than the rules or the game that are playing. So respect and kindness and manners and courtesy will go a long way. Please treat others as you wish to be treated. Division and fraction are always handled as what is mathematically correct, regardless of whatever the rule says. So if a decimal is 0.5 or higher when you divide it, you're going to round up. If it's 0.49 or lower, then you're going to round down. The only exception is that if it comes out to 0 damage always becomes 1. If there's no logical dice that I can apply to some action your character is trying to do, I'll probably give it a 50-50 chance. So 11 plus on d20, maybe plus or minus according to circumstances. Attendance is if you no call, no show 3 times, I'll retire your character. If you don't have any communication or prior arrangements made. And that doesn't mean like you're getting kicked out of the campaign. That just means like your character is pretty much not involved anymore at that point. So definitely come back, but we'll make a new character at that point. And you can communicate with me just on Discord. That's fine. I've got my email address here too. I would like you to try to avoid any kind of character stuff during adventure time. And if you need help with any of that, you can let me know and we'll get together. I try to let you know within 24 hours of the session that your characters have leveled up. So it might be a little longer depending on circumstances, but usually within 24 hours. But it eats up a lot of game time. Or it can. It depends on the character, actually. Some characters can be leveled pretty fast. It's just something that I want you to try for. It's not anything that's going to be a real big deal. And I don't usually do mulligans. So if we have any kind of magic, any kind of action that is carried out once you have declared that you do it, then it's done. And that includes, but is not limited to, bad choices of wording when describing your intent, unexpected consequences for your PC's actions, or an incorrect interpretation of the rules, which we will discuss after the session online for future implementation rather than eating up game time. Any detail or stat, anything on your character sheet basically can be changed up until the point that your character reaches level 2, at which point they are baked, so to speak. Bad rolls don't matter. Tablets don't matter. Allowed materials, basically player's handbook, this world guide that you're looking at, and pretty much anything, just about anything first party. I don't generally allow third party or beta test anything. Anything homebrew that I didn't make is not probably going to be allowed. Beyond 20 has an extension for using Roll20, and that's fine, but I have to have an up-to-date character sheet in Roll20 as well. This is so I can see your character sheet if I need to audit it, or play your character as an NPC. Character death, my campaigns are generally survivable, and I am known as a nice DM, more running on the narrative side. I've had one TPK in my entire time DMing, and that was I think year 2 or 3 or something like that. I don't know, really early. This black dragon came after the party, and they decided to fight with it, and one acid breath and a few claws later, and they were all dead. So, if your character is... the character's death is 100% up to you. If your character is dead by the game, then I will just ask if you want them to be dead, or if you want them, maybe they'll be captured or in a coma for a while, but not dead. There will be a period where you may be asked to play a different character outside of your normal comfort zone for a few sessions. If you do decide to retire your character, a la Blade Runner, you may have a few final words or take a few extra pot shots at the guy who just killed you if possible. And have fun, it's mandatory. We'll get into accessibility, but I will say just let me know if there's a problem privately, outside of the game, or whatever you need to do. I might not know. I'm going to jump forward to some more of the house rules that I wanted to go over. I'm thinking I might talk a little bit of lore. Try to do this all in a couple hours here. That was the crab hybrid that just whizzed by. These are the lizardmen hybrids. Well, they're sort of... the lizardmen figured out how to reproduce somehow, so they're not really hybrids anymore. They're their own race. But I got to change that around because that's pretty much just the Warhammer 6th edition lizardmen.
Are you saying that life finds a way?
Yeah. That is correct. And my dog is tripping balls. This engineer class is really long because it's actually a few different classes. And here's a couple other homebrew classes. These are those tables that I was talking about, character customization, that help you figure out different details or RP prompts for your character. The social class has an actual mechanical effect on your character, which it can change the starting gold, and it can be anywhere from slave all the way up to royalty. So there will be a wide set of possibilities, but the most likely possibility is this one, which is just a standard character. So if you... and you don't have to use this class, you can just choose to be middle class. That is like the standard in the player's handbook. Like if you want to use like the starting gold or the starting equipment, then you're fine. If you want to use this and you get anything other than middle class, you have to take the starting gold and buy your starting equipment. And that is going to because it's going to affect your starting gold, as you can see. If you're lower than that, your starting gold goes down. If you're higher than that, your starting gold goes up. The rest of these are just RP prompts, and you can roll on the table, or you can pick one, or you can make something up. You can roll a few times and see what you get and see if it works for you. There's social status, circumstances of birth, in other words, like the situation with your parents and siblings. Liege patron, or in other words, your boss, if you have a boss, or if you want a boss. Quirks, there's a ton of quirks. I have a huge quirk table. So the rest of these are in Roll20, but I don't have them figured out. Well, I mean, I have them figured out. What I mean is I don't have them in the document yet, because you can just use the Roll20 rollable tables. But different RP prompts that you can use. Equipment is pretty much rules as written, except that you will have a small list of really basic equipment that is considered to be like free, and it's always accessible. Like you don't need to count it in your inventory, and it doesn't take any encumbrance. So you don't need to declare that you're buying this stuff. You don't need to spend any money on it to use it. You can just pull it out of your pack anytime you want it. If it does happen to get damaged or destroyed, you do have to fix it or replace it, but it still takes up no bulk or weight. And those items are one set of clothes, a backpack, a 10-foot pole, a bedroll, candles, fishing gear, mess kit, water skin, rope, paper, writing utensil, flint and tinder, and a sack. And then sort of also under that equipment list is a free mount. Every character gets an ordinary basic steed, which they can choose to use or not. It comes at no cost. It is equipped as necessary to be mounted and ridden. So with saddles, bit and bridle, or whatever, 7 days worth of feed, and a couple of saddlebags. Its stats are just a normal riding horse per the D&D monster manual. It doesn't have any monetary value, but you can set it free or whatever if you want to do that. The crystals, you know, it's basically something that most characters start with if they're not like hermits or wanderers. So most characters will start with a free kyanite silicate crystal. That's the common white crystal for communicating. And the blue crystals include an image. The white crystals are just sound, and you can use them anywhere in the world. You cannot use them off-world or in other planes. You start with 14 days of free rations and water. Like I said, I track rations and water as a group normally, but I am not going to be doing that on this one, I don't think. I think I'll be having you guys do it individually.
You do have a druid with good berry.
Yeah, that will be helpful. These are the common white crystals. It allows users to communicate through speech or audible sound, and that's anywhere in the world. There is no range limitation except that they don't function off-world. By touching one another's crystal, you may henceforth send and receive messages with that person at will. These magic crystals will work with any other kyanite or Isis crystal. Communicating with a user of an Isis crystal does not confer any ability to send or receive a visual message. This is not scrying, and protection from scrying has no effect on the use of these. In the event that a crystal changes hands, the user cannot contact any of the previous user's contacts, because the recipient of the message must be known to the crystal user. And then these are the more expensive and more rare blue crystals. An Isis silicate crystal allows users to communicate with a visual image and speech anywhere on Caesarea, so same basic parameters. Feats is kind of a work in progress, but I do have one house feat, which is blood for material components. And this is basically a spontaneous caster, not a wizard or a cleric, can substitute their own blood for material spell components. And the cost will determine how many hit points worth of blood. 0 to 4 gold is negligible, no hit points. Otherwise, the cost is gold pieces divided by 10 to determine how many hit points worth of blood. The blood is always consumed in the casting. Whether the spell consumes the material component or not is irrelevant. It doesn't have to be collected all at once. You can heal or rest after collecting however many hit points worth of blood, and do it over and over again. Ability scores, like I said, we don't do ability score increases, and there is an alternative way to do your characters that some of my players really like I said, is you roll them up at adolescence, and it's 3d6 top down, and you get your character as they would be at 13. Or again, whatever the racial equivalent is for your species. And then you take 4 years to train. So pretty much, and 46 drop lowest is fine too, but that's kind of nice. The other method is kind of nice because it creates a character that you can kind of sculpt a little bit, and it also creates quite a backstory. It's just sort of baked into the process. So if you train your most important ability first, which you should always do if you're going to train it, you can go from 0 to 12 at 5 weeks. Each 5 weeks of training gets you 2 points. 13 to 14, each 10 weeks of training gets you 3 points, and so on. So if you had a wizard, and of course the most important ability for a wizard is intelligence, and you train your intelligence first. And let's say you started with your wizard with 13 intelligence. So you spend 5 weeks training, and it goes up to 15. No, I'm sorry. You spend 10 weeks training, and it goes up to 15. Then after that, you can spend another 20 weeks training, and it goes up to 17. You can't do 10 weeks for one. So that's 30 weeks so far. And then you spend another 30 weeks, and it goes up to 19. So taking the total number of weeks to 60. And then for this last jump to get to 20, that's going to be 60 weeks for a total of 120 weeks to train your wizard's intelligence from 13 to 20. As you can kind of see, there is a bell curve of diminishing returns as you move down the chart. And basically after your most important, you'll go to this one. Even though it says first trained, it just means either first trained or first trained after your most important. You can never go back up. You only ever go down. So if you switch, if that wizard switches, after going to 15 on intelligence, and that wizard switches to wisdom, they go down here. And if they want to go back to intelligence, then when they're training, they're going to be down here. And it gets worse and worse as you go down. the chart. Most players don't make it even past first or second trained usually, because, like I said, there's definitely a bell curve of diminishing returns. So you've got basically your most important ability should be trained first, and you should always take the ability as far as you want it to go, without switching to another. You can stop between points, like if you take that first 10 weeks to jump from 13 to 15, and then after that go do an adventure or whatever, and then come back to your intelligence training, you're still right here. But you cannot switch to charisma or whatever and then go back to intelligence without being bumped down a few notches. So you don't want that. If we're doing this as backstory, the character's adolescent training is at no cost. Once the adventuring career has begun, the character must hire a trainer at a cost of 2 gold per day, maintaining a healthy diet throughout the training process. You must maintain a comfortable or better lifestyle per D&D 5e lifestyle expenses rules. This costs a minimum of 2 gold per day for healthy food, as well as comfortable room and board. You must spend 8 hours a day training your ability. The trainee must take at least a 1-hour rest period in the middle. Also, the character must be getting a minimum of 7 hours of sleep a day. It's not possible to train more than one ability at a time. If you stop your training prematurely before you finish that time span to get the gain, or it gets interrupted for a period of 1 week or more, the benefits of that training, since the ability last bumped up, would be lost. Training time and cost is never regained, even if the character continues training the same ability later. Usually the maximums are 20. That's really all you need to know about maximums. And this doesn't matter to us, but when I do a character, a new character that is level 4 or higher, when it's created, I just use the ASI to represent some assumed training. But after that, it will switch over. Once that character starts adventuring, it'll switch over to my training rules. And epic level stuff sometimes, or magic, you can overcome ability maximums. So, and the other thing is with magic, like if you have any kind of magical effect on the stat that you're training, you have to take it off. You can't train your strength with a girdle of giant strength or anything like that. So, and if it's permanent, then you're fucked. You can't train that ability. So hit points, max hit points first level. After that, roll hit points, and you can re-roll ones. You can use your inspiration for re-rolling hit points too if you want to. So, and I allow your inspiration to build up to 3. I don't just do 1. Short rests will gain you a 1 hit point per level plus your con bonus if you have somebody proficient that makes a successful medicine check and uses 1 application of a med kit. In all other ways, a short rest works normally. There is no use of hit dice in a short rest. A long rest, a character cannot benefit from more than 1 long and uninterrupted rest in a 24-hour period, and a character must have at least 1 hit point at the start of the rest to gain its benefits. A shorter long rest period, such as an elf's trance ability, does not change this. A character does not automatically gain all hit points back from a long rest. A character gains plus con bonus per level for a long rest as long as the above conditions are met. That is a given. On top of that, each character being administered with a medicine check by a proficient character will gain an additional hit die of hit points per level. In other words, a 10th level fighter would recover 10d10 hit points. 6th level wizard gets 66. A character being administered medicine by a proficient character with a healer's kit will gain all their hit points back and may qualify to have any applicable poisons or diseases removed per raw. A character beginning a long rest with 0 hit points will recover to 1 hit points after a successful DC 14 Constitution save. Obviously, magical and medical healing will work normally, and in all other ways, a long rest works normally. Okay, so I use a lot of crits, even where they're not rules as written. So I do critical hits and misses. I do them on saves. I do them on ability checks, skill checks, and pretty much any other miscellaneous roll. So it's usually going to do something if you critically hit or critically miss. I don't do self-damage or breaking weapons, but the typical result of a critical miss with your weapon is just that you fall prone, and then you have to pick yourself up on the next round, and you will lose whatever remains of your actions at that point. There are some Caesarea specific skills. Right now I only have just Skycraft and Spacecraft, so if either of those interest you, just so you know. Skills and devices that you might use, for example, pick locks or disable devices with your tools. That is typically going to take about 1 minute to attempt. When the failed attempt does not break the locks, break the tool's lock or device, or spring a trap, another attempt can be made only after a successful investigation check, usually DC 12 or maybe higher depending on the complexity. Once the investigation check has passed, the PC may attempt one more time at disadvantage. If the second attempt fails, another attempt on that device or lock cannot be made until the next level. A critical success usually confers the ability to keep the device or trap for later use. Arcana, religion, history, perception. Typical duration is 1 round. Investigation, typical duration is 10 minutes. A single failed attempt is always final. No further attempts are allowed on this particular question, area, or item until that PC gains a level. A critical success usually confers a higher level of detail. A critical failure confers information that is incorrect, but the PC believes it to be the truth. Deception, intimidation, performance, and insight is typically used in 1 action. A single failed attempt is almost always final, but there may be extenuating circumstances as arbitrated by the DM that could allow a second attempt with disadvantage. Otherwise, the PC cannot attempt to deceive, intimidate, or perform against that particular NPC or group until she or he gains a level. Persuasion and animal handling, once 1 action, can usually be attempted several times on 1 NPC or group, has degrees of possibility according to NPC demeanor and mood. Failures will nudge the NPC into a more sour mood, while successes nudge the NPC into a more friendly mood. Critical successes or failures will move the NPC's mood more dramatically. Athletics and acrobatics, typically 1 action, and it's completely circumstantial. For example, climb attempts can be attempted repeatedly for as long as the PC wishes, and for as long as they don't get knocked unconscious or killed from taking falling damage. On the other hand, leaping a lava gorge only allows one failure, and the results of that failure would be the PC's death. The adventuring and timeline, we'll get into that. We won't worry about that too much. I will mention that the planet has a more wobbly axis of rotation than normal, and the seasons can have a wider variance than what you might expect. So, hired NPC costs. This matters more if you're going to be a landowner. Let's see, drugs and alcohol have different effects and consequences. Combat, knockdown, bleed out, and death. You drop when you lose, when you're at 0 hit points. You're unconscious but stable. Between -1 and -con, they're dying and will lose 1 hit point per round while they're bleeding out until they're stabilized. They can lose as many hit points as their constitution before they die. So the PC will die at -con -1 hit points. Up to the point that they are fully dead, any curative spell or successful medicine check at DC 10 will stabilize the character at 0 hit points. Once the combat has ended, another successful medicine check or curative spell will bring that character to consciousness at 1 hit point. This cannot be done during active combat. After that, curative spells and wound treatments work normally. And I don't use death save. Troll regeneration works a little bit differently as well. I don't have it to where the fire and acid damage don't stop the troll regeneration from functioning. It's rather that the fire and acid damage can't be regenerated. Any fire or acid damage inflicted before the troll falls cannot regenerate. Assuming the troll has taken any non-fire or acid damage, any amount of fire or acid damage inflicted after it falls will destroy it fully. If it's taken all fire and acid damage during its fight, then once it falls, it's destroyed fully. With meta knowledge like this, I don't have any problem. Like I just figured this type of thing, troll regeneration, is a good example, is probably just common knowledge. So you don't have to pretend like you don't know that a troll regenerates the first time you encounter a troll. What I do ask with anything like that is that you don't look it up while you're doing it. So, at some point, the idea is that your memory is going to fail at some point, and you'll say, "Oh, this guy is susceptible to lightning," and it's "Oh, whoops, nope, lightning heals it. Better get out of here." Okay, so I would like to emphasize that combat is not the only way to earn experience points and treasure. There are 7 types of encounters that I regularly use. Only combat leads to fighting, but any of these can lead to treasure or experience awards. So, combat is any encounter which leads to fighting, obviously. Killing an opponent that is not aggressive, or in other words, actively seeking to cause harm, damage, or death, etc. to the PCs is always, under every circumstance, worth 0 experience. Performing a coup de grace on incapacitated combatants is not what this rule is referring to. It's referring to attacking those who are not interested in combat. A trap is a possible source of XP and treasure, anything that could damage, kill, or poison, trigger spells, unleash enemies or beasts or anything like that, physically change access to a space, or sound alarms, or any combination. An obstacle is an encounter with a situation or physical thing that needs to be overcome or circumvented to continue. Dilemma is an encounter where one of two or more choices must be made and none appear to be a good choice. Diplomacy is an encounter involving the attempt to persuade NPCs. Puzzle or secret is an encounter with any secret or puzzling situation, such as riddles and secret doors. An event is something that happens external to and regardless of PC action or inaction. The rest of this we're not going to worry about too much right now. Sentient magic items will have levels if we get to that. Clerics and wizards may add their proficiency bonus to the number of spells they are normally allowed to prepare. So that's your intelligence or wisdom modifier plus your level plus your proficiency bonus. Wizards and clerics can cast unprepared spells that are not in immediate memory for a cost of double the casting time. Clerics can pray for their spell to cast it immediately, and wizards can open their spell book and cast their magic from that. To do this, clerics must always have their holy symbol on hand, and wizards must have the spellbook containing the desired spell on hand. And needless to say, the required components must be on hand. Spontaneous casters and alchemists don't get anything from that. Magical illumination from detect magic. That is something that you're going to want to know. Abjuration is orange. Alteration is dark green. Conjuration is summoning. Conjuration and summoning is whitish green. Divination is light blue. Enchantment and charm is light green. Evocation deep red. Illusion is purple. Invocation is pink. And transmutation is deep blue. And necromancy is yellow. The colors will be visible when viewing magical effects that require detect magic, and also when the caster is casting from these schools. Magical weapons and armor are almost always transmutation. Protection is abjuration, so rings, armor, and cloaks. Offense is usually evocation, so weapons and so on. And other bonuses are usually transmutation, ability scores, and so on. If an item has a magical effect that goes along with the spell, the aura is the same as the spell. The illusion school is kind of confusing in that you can't... The fact that you cast detect magic does not enable you to detect illusions. So you have to be able to disbelieve the illusion first before you can see the magical aura, even with detect magic. Identifying magic items is done with the identify spell. Per rules is written, it does use the pearl. It does consume the pearl is what I mean. The alternative short rest method is allowed pending a successful Arcana check. And the DC for a common is 12, uncommon is 14, rare 16, very rare 20, legendary is 26, and that is not possible to do with an artifact. Resurrection is only allowed if the character is following a real god or goddess. Resurrection is always the PC's decision. They might wish to stay at rest when being called back to the realm of the living. Ignore this. I should have cut that out and I forgot. Yep, and this is just a reiteration. It needs a little bit of editing here. any spell that you have going that has a duration of anything more than instant, you can cut that off anytime you want, whether or not the spell requires concentration. You learn all variants if you are a wizard or cleric adding a spell to your spell book. Divine magic is granted only by the gods, and they come from no other source. So clerics have to follow a god, and the source of arcane magic is bloodstone, and that's part of the lore. So material components, and then the gods. I've been talking a long time, and that's a lot to digest, so I am trying to figure out if there's anything else that you really need to know right now. Let's see, did I... The portal cities are cities that have a network of portals connecting them. You can go from any portal city to any other portal city in the world. And there is a consortium of portal overseers that will they're there to ensure that the portals remain functional, and the portals or the cities housing them are not attacked. There's some different guilds and clans and stuff like that here that you can look at. The ones that are listed here are generally worldwide, so they're listed here because they're worldwide. If you want to look at that, feel free. Yeah, okay. The campaign, we use the D&D 5e core rules. I think we're pretty close to done here with this stuff, with the mods noted in this document. Please get familiar with the world enough to understand your character's role in the world. You don't have to be experienced. We can teach you as you go. Try to come prepared. Party alignment should be generally compatible. And I will typically run campaigns geared towards good and neutral parties, but that's not like a rule or anything. I do recommend designating a party leader, party face who does the talking, chronicler, and mapper. And the details, how much you want to use them or how little you want to use them, are entirely up to the player. I do use a lot of audio and visual aids as much as I can. I generally stick to a medieval theme. I don't do anything like robots, lasers, or computers generally. And definitely no guns. We're not a PvP game. Good or evil, you are a team. No lethal party infighting ever. No in-party theft or other general misconduct or assholery. In addition to the obvious dealing damage to one another, walking out on a fight, snatching loot when other PCs aren't looking, casting non-damaging but negative spells on teammates, not to mention towing the line, are all considered PvP behavior. If this behavior is required to properly roleplay your character, you need a different character. I absolutely 100% will not abide any PvP behavior. Subdual damage is typically okay. If you end up in like a fist fight or a grapple fight or something, that's not really what I'm talking about. So, please feel free to mix it up, and like I said, jump in with any in-character RP that you want. Feel free to be proactive about it. If you get it pulled away, it's unavoidable, and I will be understanding about that, and try to stay focused on the game as much as you can to the best of your ability. Lots of different personalities. I don't really tailor each and every session to cater to each individual character's abilities and personality. I do try to be generally inclusive. The rest is up to you. Include your character in the story proactively. There will be a handout in Roll20 when we start adventuring. That's standard procedures, and that is anything that is a common task or chore that doesn't require a dice roll. Marching order, camp habits, night watches, hailing procedures, combat formations. Small character quirks and habits can be declared as standard procedure. Standard procedures can pertain to a specific location, so whenever a character enters the village of Falkirk, they will plant an apple tree, or whenever your character enters a forest, you will always pick up a handful of moss for their spell components. Spell components must be cost-free and easy to obtain. In any situation where there is no dice roll or ability involved and the action in question takes less than 20 minutes of active participation, the character is assumed to be doing what is most favorable. So if you, in other words, don't declare that you're taking off your full plate armor when you go to sleep, you still are, because if you didn't, you would have penalties when you woke up in the morning. It's always better, generally speaking, to err on the side of explicitness rather than to assume I'm thinking all the same things that you are. Okay, this doesn't matter to us. And that's it. Okay, I can step share my screen. There we go. Okay, so that's that doesn't even really introduce the world that much, but that was a lot of talking, so I'm going to put a pause on that for now. Any kind of preferred play style that you have that you want me to know about, definitely let me know. So some of the common play styles that people might have are just heavy role play and storytelling, hack and slash or combat, political intrigue or spy game, sandbox where you can kind of just wander around freely and do whatever you want, sort of spontaneously. The traditional dungeon crawl, which involves underground locations and indoor locations largely, and pulling out loot and killing monsters. Monty Hall is something I generally try to stay away from, so if we get into that, then we'll probably... Well, I haven't gotten into that in a long time, so I seem to be able to avoid it. If you like a thinky game, mystery, puzzle solving, problem solving game, or historical simulation, D&D doesn't really do a very good historical simulation, and I wouldn't recommend it. Or a mass army war game. We may get into some mass army stuff if you guys are interested later in the campaign, just depending on how long it goes and if you're interested. So, or if you want a silly campaign, we can do that. Accessibility is anything like if you want to, if there's something you want to let me know about that's upsetting or a hard topic for you. Anything like taboos, alternative sexual or gender orientation, rape, gore, overall accessibility. I will not generally be very like it's going to be like fade to black on most of that taboo stuff. Anything like sexual activity or child endangerment or anything, hardcore nasty stuff is going to be implied or happen off camera. So anything, if there's something that you can't play with, if you can't have it in the game, you should definitely let me know. It's not a problem. I can just leave it out. I'm not going to tell you to drink or not drink, but if you get so useless that you're falling at the keyboard, then we can't do much with you. If you're going to split the party or do your own thing, I don't really mind that much. I'm not really strongly for or against splitting the party, really. But what I can't let anybody do is like where they're doing their own thing and it's kind of eating up the game session for everyone else. If there's a situation like that where you're off doing your own thing, then maybe we can arrange like a private session where we resolve that little mini adventure outside of the normal game time. So so that it doesn't, like I said, eat up everybody else's time. PC death, we talked about it. Please don't get into protracted rule discussions during game time. I am all for it. I want you to teach me more about the rules outside of game time in Discord or the forum, but this is not what we do with our adventure time. I am going to create an adventure log, like I said, and I will share that with the party, and we will be sending payment to this email address, but like I said, the first session's free, which that doesn't mean session 0, by the way. That is the first adventuring session is free. So you don't need to worry about that anytime real soon. But let me create the spread, and I'm going to put this back on the startup instructions. I figure 46 drop lowest is probably the easiest way to go. And it looks like most of you have done that already. Cool. Yeah, let's just do 46 drop lowest. There's a macro, if you haven't already seen it, that's listed in this list of instructions that will make that roll for you, and it will drop the lowest die and re-roll all ones. So everybody fell asleep, didn't they? I don't blame you.
I had a quick question. I didn't know when a good time to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was being a smartass.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what a good time to jump in was, but you're talking about spell components. So, do you have to like actively call out during certain like times, like I'm going to be looking for this component, or are we just going to assume that like you would have those components? Like, how does that play into it in terms of like finding spell components? I guess.
With anything that has a free or very low cost, it's assumed that when you put that into your repertoire, you have 12 uses of that. And Like after that, it's kind of arbitrated. So like if you're somewhere in the forest and you need a sprig of holly, it's probably not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
If you're somewhere in a like desert dungeon and you need a sprig of holly, that might be a different story.
Okay, so let's say we needed that for a spell, and like we've only been into the desert. Would it be? Would I just say like, oh, I can't cast a spell because I haven't been anywhere yet where a sprig of holly would be, or
Well, so there is one thing. Rules as written is so like what class are you?
I'm considering a wizard.
So you'll have an arcane you'll either have an arcane focus or a component pouch um as one of your starting equipment items. So your arcane focus takes place of any component that does not have a cost or consume. If it has a gold value to it, it's a consumable item, which means that so like if it says in the material cost that it's like 100 gold piece pearl, those you have to physically have. But as long as you have an arcane um focus, anything else, as long as you have that focus, you have.
Okay.
Now, if you are doing a ritual, you have to have those items. So if you want to do a ritual spell cast, which does not cost a spell slot, then that's a different story altogether.
Yeah, usually arcane material pouches and the focuses take the place of materials that don't have a monetary value listed in the spellbook.
Okay. I just didn't know how like granular things are going to get in this world, so I was just wanted to know. Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
that's for the basic stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going above and beyond for extra stuff, or if he's got spells in his if stuff for his world stuff, then that's a completely different story. But
Also, I know that. Did you mention your house rule where all monetary materials are consumed upon casting the spell?
It's not all, but there are a lot of material components that have been house ruled to consume. I put a link in the FNS general chat to a spreadsheet that goes through all the main spells.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier.
I
So
I put the changes, like if I changed it, it's bold and red. So where it says consumed, that's the fourth column over. If I changed it, it's bold and red. And you can see, like, if you scroll through it, like, a lot of them, like, most of them have been changed. Let's see, so... Leoman's secret chest uses a 5,000 gold exquisite chest, 3x2x2, made of rare materials. That does not consume the chest when you do that. Locate creature requires the fur of a bloodhound. It gets consumed. Mordenkainen's faithful hound uses a bone. It gets consumed. Alarm. Let's go to some of the stuff you might be using right away. Alarm is a spell that requires a bell and a wire. I think it's a copper wire. Is that right?
this is fine silver.
Oh, silver wire. Okay. And so basically, the alarm spell is you need to. It doesn't consume the wire, but you need to leave it at the location of the alarm. So as long as that alarm is active, you won't have the wire in your possession. And you need to have a bell. The bell is not consumed. But if you have multiple alarms going and only one bell, you will only know if any of those multiple alarms have been tripped. If you get different bells for each alarm, you will know specifically which alarms were tripped. Weapon requires a green flame blade requires a weapon. That stuff like that is usually not consumed. Like if you're casting something on a weapon that has some kind of whatever, some kind of effect, like it gives it a +1 or gives it a flame or something like that.
So it's like for like fireball, it says like sulfur and guano. So do I have to like actively say to you, like I'm going to be looking for like sulfur or guano at certain places, or can I assume that's handled by like a focus or component pouch? Or
I'm fine with assuming it if you're around an area that has it, but like I said, you'll start with 12, and then once you've cast it 12 times, you have to have had a way to get some more sulfur and guano. Actually, I think it's only one or the other. I don't think you need both.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Typically, the type of stuff that does not use the spell component, for example, is like something that has an effect on the object, where the object like is listed as the spell component, but the object is what is being what the object is the recipient of the spell, like it doesn't consume that object. And then divine spells that use your divine focus, your holy symbol, that's not going to consume the holy symbol. Druid spells that use let me find some druid spells. Try to find Goodberry here. Goodberry, where are you? Goodberry will consume the mistletoe sprig. So the component pouch is probably what you want, but it doesn't work the way rules is written says it works. But the arcane focus is probably not going to be of much value because there aren't a whole lot of spell components that aren't consumed. As you can see, there's a lot that have been house ruled to consume their spell components.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's what I was trying to get to. Thanks for clearing that up for me.
Sure. Yeah, you probably want the spell component pouch. What else is there to say? I don't know. Not much for me. You guys go ahead and collaborate on your characters for a minute. I'm going to use the restroom and take a bio break and get something to drink and maybe snack on. So I'll be back in a few minutes. And then normally, and during sessions, by the way, I'll take a break around 10 o'clock-ish. So, but anyway, I'll be back in a few minutes.
Alright, so I'm changing up some things on my character as far as his personality and stuff, but Barbarian Crab. Liking it.
What type of barbarian you going?
I kind of want to go totem. I found some cool homebrew totems, but now that he's saying that, like, that probably won't happen, I'm gonna take another look at it.
Yeah, totem's the best tank if you want to go tank.
Yeah, I don't know about any of the. I only looked at the PHB ones. I don't know about any other expanded.
Well, you got totem is the tank one, because if you go bear totem, you essentially get resistance to everything except for psychic. And if you go as the Kalashtar race, which is a human, a psychic human, then you have resistance to all damage when you're under rage. Um, and then on top of it, with your naturally high constitution, all that kind of stuff, you're freaking massively high health, and half damage is ridiculous. Then
Uh-huh.
you got Berserker is exactly what it sounds like. It's meh. Um, Wild Magic is kind of fun, but it's funner if the DM actually modifies it a little bit.
I'm being a wild magic sorcerer in one of my other games.
Yeah, well, the Wild Magic Sorcerer is actually really freaking boring in my opinion, because um it only works off of the spell slot. So, like, especially at lower levels, you have like 2 spell slots, then 3 spell slots. So at most you have 3 chances in a single long rest to even possibly, you know, make a critical to get to even have a chance at rolling on the table. Whereas, uh, you know, for barbarian, you get hit, you have to roll on the table. You go into rage, you have to roll on the table. So it's there's a little bit more things that cause you to roll on the table. Mind you, the table is pretty weak compared to the sorcerer one. It's only got like 8 items. But when I was running my game, I had a guy do it. I actually added a couple things just to kind of tweak it up a little bit. Um, and to make it a little more interesting, because I felt they were a little too tame. Uh, see, Ancestral Guardian, it's another kind of tanky one, but it's more of like a, you know, spirit type guardian thing.
Mm-hmm.
Zealot, it's along the lines of um, almost like a religious barbarian.
Mm. Not feeling that one.
Yeah, so I think I'm still gonna go wizard. Um, yeah, probably war magic.
War, eh. I don't know. Wizard's always been boring to me, but I'm just, it's just slow to me. Just because like you don't get um extra attacks and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, they're extremely powerful at higher levels and stuff like that. And they have a lot of versatility, but there's just so much to them.
Jalo just rolled 2 18s on his character.
Nice.
Trying to figure out how to get back into the character mancer.
Just open back up your character sheet.
Mm-hmm. I'm on the character sheet.
Did you like complete it?
Yes.
All right. Do you want to redo or just edit something?
I want to edit something. Oh, you know what? I think I found it. So, like, as a crab hybrid, right? I get let's see, a +2 to strength and a +1 to constitution. So would that go on the race page, I guess? Would I add like 2 strength and 1 constitution? Is that how it would work?
That goes in your yes, on the race page. But you also have to look at the because as a hybrid, you have to have a minimum
16.
for your constitution.
Mhm.
Then you have to do a -1 to your constitution. So you automatically get, because you're a hybrid, you get a -1 to your constitution. Then you apply your whatever you get for being a crab hybrid
Wait, so you get a -1 for being a hybrid.
to your constitution, because the procedure to become a hybrid gives you a -1 to your constitution, and you have to have a 15 or better after that -1.
Wasn't there something like if it happened while you were a child or something that it doesn't, or did I read that wrong?
Yes.
Let's see. So yeah, my character's backstory, I don't care if you guys know this. He was he was taken out as an embryo from the womb and spliced with a crab,
Oh,
and then
okay.
sold by a huckster wizard to a child as like one of those sea monkey triops like things where you just put an egg in water and it hatches.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean it's a goofy ass like.
No, that's honestly the weirder the better. Those are the ones that I actually stick to the better, is whenever I find something I just find funny to play, because then I can make the character myself.
Yeah.
So, because of the intense pain, shock, and trauma caused by the process of mutation, a grown inheritor must have a minimum constitution of 16. Toddlers or youngers are young and flexible enough to bypass this restriction. No character with a lower constitution can survive the process. When complete, the fresh hybrid will suffer a -1 to their constitution, resulting in a minimum score of 15 if hybridized at adolescence or later. If hybridized at birth, the most common scenario, the hybrid's adult constitution score must be a minimum of 15.
Okay, so it's a -1 to their constitution if hybridized at adolescence or later.
Right,
So I wouldn't take that.
right.
Yeah.
You still have to have the minimum 15 constitution, but you don't take a -1.
Yeah, so
Cool.
I rolled a 16 for constitution because I rolled the stats and I actually got a pretty great array. Pretty happy with it.
Did everyone do 46 drop lowest, reroll ones?
Yeah,
I think that's
copied
what I saw.
what you had on the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I did whatever was in the character mancer. It said roll 4d6, drop lowest. And I got 3 16s, a 14, an 11, and a 10.
Bad at all.
That method actually doesn't reroll ones.
I'm okay staying with what I got. If that's alright.
Yep, your 10 had a 1 in it.
Did it?
But nothing else would have changed.
Yeah, I'll stick with it. I didn't want him being real smart anyway, so 10 intelligence is baseline.
Anyone playing a charisma-based or a wisdom-based character?
I think we only have like 2 character ideas right now, so I'm not sure.
I know we got. I'm intelligence. We got another intelligence, and then we have the barbarian. So I don't think so yet.
6, are you the one going, or the
I'm
wire
going
fire?
artificer. So
Oh, okay,
intelligence.
yeah, you're the healer. Okay. Because I know someone said they wanted to be a wildfire druid.
That's one of my character ideas. Is
Okay.
a wildfire druid.
And I may be tinkering on your character sheets here and there, so don't be alarmed by that.
I can't see my character sheet yet.
Which one of you said that? I didn't catch it.
Sorry.
Jabba.
Yeah, Jabba.
And you're logged in as Bryce.
I am, yes.
Okay. Give me a second here.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, you should see it now. You may have to refresh. So. Which, by the way, is often the solution for Roll20. We usually go to refresh first.
Hey Thor, when it says, so I rolled the would die for, and I got one that said self defense. So, how would you see that in a character?
Just that they're very concerned with self-preservation, and
Are you then me kind of thing? Or?
if somebody attacks them, they're not afraid to fight to the death.
Okay.
And if I didn't mention this already, those different RP prompts in the tables there that you're rolling, they don't really have a place in the character sheet.
Yeah. They're just a roll and us to put in where we want to put them.
Yep, you can do. There's several text fields that you can just type in whatever you want. So you can go into the character bio and just type that stuff in.
Great sword is a starting weapon, or no?
Regular greatsword is fine.
Okay, cool.
I accidentally exited out of the character mancer. Is there a way to reopen that in the character sheet?
I think it'll still be there when you pop the character sheet back open. If it's not, I'll just copy you another character sheet.
Yeah, I don't see it popping back up. If you could copy me another one. Sorry about that.
If you go into the character sheet, like where you can see all your things, and go to the little what is it? It's like a gear besides
Okay.
spells. You can hit launch level 1 character mancer.
Oh yes. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few things that I set under that gear that you will find are checked, and they should all be like there's the AC modifier and the save modifier and stuff like that, exhaustion tracker. They should all be at baseline. They should not be modifying anything on your character sheet. It's there for you to add in stuff as we play, so that you can throw down like a bless quickly and easily, or whatever, mage armor, whatever.
So you said with with certain items, they don't count against our weight, or they
Yep.
do. They just okay. So if they're already on like our equipment thing, can we just take them off our?
You can do that, or you can just unequip it, and it will take it off your weight. Your weight, your encumbrance total.
Awesome. Probably need some help adding in like my crab stuff. But if
Yep.
anybody else has stuff to work on first, I mean, oh, oh, you already did it for me. Thank you.
Let's see here. Okay. So let me jump in with your crab features.
So Perius, you did it the way I did, and on your first roll and on your sixth roll, you had ones that didn't drop.
Oh, I accidentally. So I rolled already.
Oh, okay.
And Chad, I don't think I meant to do that.
Oh, okay, I
Um,
just saw you do it, and I'm like, oh, let me check.
Thank you though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, something I didn't mention. If you're new to Roll20, on that character mancer, the third tab over, start, race, and then class. You will choose your class, and then under that it says skill proficiencies. And like you might as well leave that alone until you get another two tabs over to background, because like every other character I've ever made, the background proficiencies will like double over on the initial proficiencies that you choose. So it's like you might as well choose the class proficiencies after you choose your background.
Why is it still saying blank character sheet?
Until you change the name, it'll say blank character sheet.
Thought I did change the name. And why is all that stuff gone? And okay. What? See, Thor, do I somehow have 2 character sheets?
Maybe.
You would see 2 character sheets in your tab if you did.
You know what? I'm gonna do that whole refreshing Roll20 thing. Yeah, that goes. Yeah, I don't see 2, but I do see like the one where you unchecked everything and added my natural armor is all gone.
Now I refreshed it and it moved me to a different game.
It moved you to a different game?
Yeah. Okay, I'm coming back.
I am so confused. You know, I'm just starting from scratch. Yes. Strength and Constitution are there still. Class. Survival Intimidation. Abilities. Okay, that looks right. Why did none of my other things save? Okay, now it reads as Calendar. Eh?
It's really strange. Okay, well, whatever.
Fleeing kidnappers.
That's pretty cool.
It looks like fate wants you to be fleeing kidnappers.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't mean to click it twice, but I guess I'll have to bake that in.
Okay, I'm going to try to make some edits on Calendar.
Thank you.
When we get to the equipment part of it, it's saying like choose how do you want to choose your equipment. Do we still do class equipment or do we do starting wealth, like based off what the social class we got was?
What was the social class you got?
I just got middle class.
Then you can use the starting equipment.
Okay.
just basically only the middle class characters can use the starting equipment. Everybody else has to use starting gold.
Cool.
I chose starting gold anyway. And I got lucky and actually rolled well, so.
Yeah, pincer drumming.
Wait a second, I'm putting this in the wrong field. There we go. Okay. Doodly doo, doodly doo.
And are we able to go back in here and change stuff later? Like, if I typed out the bio stuff now, can I do that at a later time?
Yes.
Cool.
Is Kalendor the type of hybrid that can change between human and crab and then the in-between state, or is Kalendor...
So, sorry. I wanted him to not change, right? Because I thought since he, was born basically part crab, that he wouldn't. But I saw with Grell Kilbor that there's a thing for him, but that might not be for... Well, it gives the option for raging, and then it has like a form of the beast, but that might only be for like druids or rangers, I imagine. Yeah, I think that's what that is. Okay, ignore me. No crab. Or like no full crab.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, this guy definitely fits better than Blagarag. Rognor, sorry.
Don't be. D3.
So what what classes do we have again already that we have people using?
Barbarian, Alchemist, or was it Arcanist? Or Artificer, right?
Yeah, it's Artificer, but I'm going to go Alchemist.
And then Perius, you are
Druid. There's a druid and a wizard. I think of the other two that we have.
okay.
Well, possible wizard or possible druid. Depending on if we need a charisma based class or a wisdom based class. So I'm also looking at pictures because I usually base my character on what kind of pictures I can find. Because that's definitely important.
Find your muse before you find your and metal everything out from there.
My muse was I was going through the World Bible and I saw you could be a crab. And again, I'm from Baltimore. I'm all crabs. In a not weird way. Or maybe a little weird way, I don't know. Anyway. Nice. So are you guys just grabbing your images off like, Google Images?
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest, I do it off Pinterest, but yeah.
Pinterest, Google Images, whatever.
Yeah. And then I got a website I use to make the token.
I think this is the first time I played a character with an armor class above like 14. That'd be good. Anybody planning on doing voices?
Well, occasionally.
I
I
do some.
personally won't.
Been workshopping some, but I'm a little what's the word I'm looking for? Shy about them.
Did you add that +2 strength and +1 constitution for Kalendor?
Yes, I did that when I did the custom race.
Okay. Then I think you've got more or less everything as far as the basics go.
Cool. Thank you for your help.
Is there a preferred like token making website you guys like?
I usually use Photoshop or I forget there is one that online that I've been using.
That's what I use.
Thank you.
The Fateful Force seems to be pretty good. Oh, Roll20's being hiccupy again.
What else is new?
Try a refresh. It kept me in the right game this time, at least.
Character sheet's still here, so
That's good.
which one of these borders looks the most crappy?
Lauren, that's me jumping around your character sheet. Sorry about that.
Who are you talking to?
The player who is playing Aloran.
Ah.
Oh, I was wondering what was happening. I was like, what the heck? Yeah. I'll close out of it so you can do whatever you need to.
So what races is everyone being? I know, let's see, Sick, you said you were doing Goblin?
Yup.
I picked a half elf.
I was going to do a gnome, but I think I'm doing a half orc now.
Love gnomes. Showed my crab idea to a friend, and she was like, that's cool, but are you just going to be a giant crab in a party full of normal people? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I saw like hybridization is not looked upon very well in most places. So how are we supposed to handle that?
Yeah, do they have a different, like, view on it in Fantasy Australia here?
No. If anything, they're probably more racist. But
Gotta also remember, all of us are probably not going to be purebloods anyway. Is anybody playing a pure out human?
I don't think anybody's playing any of the classes that are like the main habituants of the area.
I'm doing a goblin, so like my character's not gonna care if you guys are, hybrids or anything for that matter. She's gonna be wary of you regardless of your race.
Actually, I think I remember seeing it was like the area is like mainly humans, half elves, halflings, gnomes, dwarves.
Yeah, because half elves aren't treated well.
Yeah.
Any like half race besides halfling, which is just like a puppet.
Okay, for
Anybody want to
Perry,
like? Sorry.
for Perry and for Aloran, I have spirits for false life and crickets for sleep in your class resources, and that's how I usually do spell components. Your find familiar requires 10 gold pieces worth of mixture of like charcoal and I forget a few other things. But find familiar is not the type of spell that you're gonna cast like over and over again. So I didn't put that one in there as a resource.
Oh, cool.
Crickets and spirits are both pretty negligible on cost, so I'm just starting you with 12.
Okay, so that was in the inventory?
No, I put it in the class resources, like right under your flaws,
Oh.
and then you can just tick it down every time you cast it.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Cool.
And you can just keep adding those as you gain more spells.
See what you mean. Okay. Cool. And then, like, if I ever am in a situation where I think I can get this stuff, just let you know to, like, refill it, or...
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
And probably if I think of it, I'll let you know. Like, I know you need crickets and spirits, but, I'm not guaranteeing that I'll always think of it, but
Yeah.
if I do, I'll let you know.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Thor, were you thinking a usual meet in the tavern kind of thing, or should we come up with like, do any of us know each other? Stuff like that.
I had no preconceived notions quite yet. We could always take a look at the world map and see where we're going to start. So,
We're in Kuramandia.
let's see. And it's a big place. I can do some.
When you look at these maps, are you just going to, like the one at the very top and zooming in? Or is there, like, a smaller map for each continent?
There's usually regional maps, like once we get into more specific,
Yeah, areas and stuff. Okay.
Okay, come on. Cooperate.
I mean, one thing I was thinking, if anybody who's particularly smarter, with their character, anybody who's, needs like muscle, particularly, I would be happy playing like kind of hired bodyguard or like a lunk that just kind of like follows you around.
I think I could play into something like that. I mean, we're both already not liked, but I think a lot of people already, a lot of the races we picked aren't going to be liked. So,
Yeah.
And that's going
I
to
mean,
be largely in regards to the civilized areas. So, you know, let's see.
so like if we start out in a smaller area like Warrumbungle, I like that name. Um, is that sort of like a backriver sort of place where like they'll let me into the bar?
Some places will, yeah. I would expect probably backwaters to be m- more racist and not really less.
Mm.
Not as used to travelers and stuff, because this is going to be. So that's almost 1,500 miles from the nearest um, portal
Large settlement.
portal city.
Are there any like towns that are particularly like, settlements of, hybrids or half races?
No, they don't have settlements of their own.
Hmm.
Well, I will say in Barrington, it looks like based off this population thing, it says 20% half elf, 20 or 10% half orc, which already covers two of the races that we have.
Yeah,
I don't know if goblin would be on any of these, or if hybrid would be on any of these. I can't remember what the other races being talked about were, but I think that would kind of make sense
yeah,
in terms of composition.
yeah. So
Both
town
like
composition is going to contribute to their outlook on unusual races as well.
Are you seeing that in like the World Bible?
yeah, if you search Barrington, there's a population section. Oh, each of these the portal cities has like population alignment.
Yep, these
Uh,
are like the major cities.
yeah,
Any portal city is going to be probably the most tolerant that you're going to get as far as metropolitan areas, because they're going to have a lot of traffic. They're going to be the most used to everything in terms of trade, diversity of races, and religions, and all that stuff.
I will say this last line here says that there is tournaments held for paladins in Barrington. So
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know if you want to play into that at all for your or oh you're a barbarian. Never mind. I thought somebody was a paladin.
somebody. Yeah, there is a paladin. I don't know if they're here today though. I think that might be
Moon.
Moon. Moon.
Okay. So I feel like a lot of us can make cases for going to Barrington for some reason, or being in Barrington already, or at least three sevenths of the party, or however many people we have.
I had a mind that my character would be very food protective, which kind of makes sense in, as far as the setting goes. And he would designate, someone as his emergency food. Like jokingly, I would never actually like act on it, but like that would be cool if, that's the reason I'm attached to someone is like they're my
It's their
emergency
your
food.
emergency food. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny too. And it has to be Calendor.
Which one's that?
The crab.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I am the crab.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Okay. So gotcha. Never mind.
I'm still trying to get everybody's voices down too. It's hard because you're going between Roll20 and Discord.
Yeah, and I'm trying to watch Discord to see who lights up and Roll20 and blah blah. So I rolled here to start. You don't have to like consider it locked in, but it's an idea. start out in the wilderness.
I mean, that gives us something to work towards if we're trying to get to Barrington.
Okay, so, and this is a little counterintuitive, so you got to remember the portal cities.
Portal cities.
Where the heck?
So would it be easier to go to Milburn? Would Milburn take you to the other side to Barrington? Okay.
Because you're going to walk or travel in some way about 1,500 miles to get to Milburn, and then you can teleport to Barrington from there.
Really big place.
Otherwise, you would be walking almost 4,000 miles. So, but the thing to remember is that every portal city connects to every other portal city.
So we could go to a portal city not on Karamanduria.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could, if you go to one of these, you could just say, well, screw it, let them burn, you know. Let's just go somewhere else. And I won't necessarily stop you, so.
So you use this map for all your campaigns, I assume, right?
Yeah.
What areas? Well, I guess you've been doing this for a long time, so I would assume like every area has been touched in some sense, or like been to.
No, there's still a few areas that are pretty untouched.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Is it too like metagame for you to tell us that, or I was just curious?
I don't care. Sorvetstad has been completely untouched probably because it's completely wild. It never really recovered from the great the dark times, the massive catastrophic collapse. And it's now just a wild, untamed land that has, just these savage, feral tribes of dwarves and giants and stuff.
The perfect place to make a settlement for half creatures.
Give it a try.
Would you prefer to go to a place where you have everything planned out, or do you like the challenge of like, oh, I got to come up with something for these people. I don't have anything, that big in Pingnan.
I am equal about either approach pretty much. I like having plenty prepared because I find it tends to be a richer experience, but I also I like to improvise as well, so that helps me with world building. Oh, you fiddlestick. Let's try this again. There we go.
Imagine Nolan Temmet.
So this is interesting. I've never really done this before. Just mapping out the connections between the portal cities.
shape looks a bit like a hermit crab.
Oh, and there's Brightport as well. Brightport is a portal city. Kind of in the line with Trig.
Oh, also, I did choose hermit as my background for the pun.
Okay.
Later, this is going to be so much fun.
Okay, that's not. I don't think that's all the connections, but you're kind of starting to get a picture.
Yeah.
The problem with designing this world, especially early on, once I made the decision to go ahead and make it this way, is that every part of the world is largely accessible from every other part of the world.
Oh, it's a homogenization of cultures usually in this situation, right? It's like,
Yeah, around these cities, everything is going to be kind of a melting pot, like not totally homogenized, but like everything goes kind of a thing.
it's kind of like how you can get what is it, a Big Mac in China, or you can get one in the U.S., or you can go
Yes.
down to Argentina and find one.
Yes. Or a Royale with cheese.
It's only in France. So
Well,
you guys don't have to
honestly,
do this. Oh,
that
sorry.
is. I was just gonna say, honestly, that is about it. Other than finishing up your characters, or we can definitely discuss starting point and. Oh, and
I guess
I should say, like, you should consider my house rules like up for discussion, and that, like, don't take that as dictation. I That's just generally how I do it.
So I was going to make a suggestion in order for us to like figure out each other's characters maybe a little easier. Um, I changed like my name on there to my character's name and my role, barbarian.
That would be. If you guys don't know, it's the gear tab on the top right above the chat window. And actually, I usually change my name. It says display name, and I'll change my name to DM Thor, which is what I usually go with. That is an image from I think it's the World Builders Guidebook or something like that, and they also put it on Unlimited Adventures. If anyone goes back that far, I don't know. But those were fun. There's this cult following of Unlimited Adventures these days. Like, there's all these community-made modules and stuff that you can get. So there really are tons and tons of adventures for that you can play now. It's a primitive system, but still fun, I think.
So what version did you start off with as far as like D&D?
First edition AD&D.
Oh, so you were like full on calculating Thaco and everything.
Yeah.
Thaco was second edition.
Was it?
It was late first edition.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was primarily,
Thaco was like an improvement compared to what came before it. Believe it or not.
and that's hard to believe, too.
Yeah.
Because Thaco it's basically inverted AC.
Yeah.
And it was a pain to think about it that way.
The system that came before it was like each weapon or class of weapons had tables of how it could hit other armors or whatever, and I think you added like because this was before I really played it, the game. Like you added like your character's strength or something like that, and maybe they had like some kind of level bonus or however they did it. And so if you were a fighter with a I don't know, a pole arm like a spear or something, and you were attacking dragon, then you'd look up pole, spear versus such and such armor, and it would give you a table of how likely you are to hit, and then you'd add your strength bonus and whatever. And you had to do that with everything you attacked. So the first editions of D&D were incoherent to my eyes. I never was able to make sense out of brown box D&D.
Heard it described as charts and graphs instead of Dungeons and Dragons.
And then AD&D came, and AD&D is, relatively speaking, I mean, it's a lot closer to what we play today than that was. And then second edition came, and second edition was like, it was backwards compatible with first edition, so you could take first edition modules and play them in second edition. It didn't really cause a problem, and you could
It's stuck with the kits pretty well.
you could do some different things with your characters, like kits and stuff. So, and then late in the second edition run, after Lorraine Williams had taken over, there were the 2.5 books, which I did not like. Mostly I didn't like them. They had some different ways to build your character, some interesting ideas, but it was, I don't know, it was pretty broken overall. And what happened was Lorraine Williams would not let the TSR employees playtest their materials while she was CEO. And so,
How did that make sense?
I don't know, made sense to her, I guess, but it was a really bad time for mechanics, but a really good time for lore, because they were really prolific with what they were putting out, and you get all these like box sets and supplements of the day that were really nice on story ideas, but you really didn't want to use the mechanics, in my opinion.
Is that where, like, I know there's two races that, like, just hate each other, and that's basically, like, all their lore, is that they hate each other?
Maybe dwarves and elves?
No, they had their own kind of, like, names. I'll look into it.
Are you talking about like the GIF or?
The GIF might have been one of them. Maybe not.
Half-orc far traveler monk. Cool. If you were started with 10 rations, you can bump that up to 12.
Cool.
I'm still thinking, like, I can't decide if I want to do survival resources as a group or individually. It probably should be individually for this campaign, but I don't know. There's benefits to doing it as a group as well.
sorry, say that again.
I kind of just thinking out loud. Just thinking about whether I want to track survival resources as a group or individually. Food and water, basically.
Yeah.
I'll figure that out by the time we actually are playing. So I should be available for July 1st. I say that because my 11th anniversary is July 2nd, but I was talking to my wife. I don't think we're doing anything Friday night. I think we're just gonna be doing stuff that weekend, starting on Saturday.
Oh. Wasn't there a weekend you were taking off as well?
I think that was it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something with like your daughter's birthday, or is that my other DM I'm thinking about?
Oh, right, my daughter's birthday, of course, July 22nd.
Okay.
We are taking July 22nd off for my daughter's birthday party. And that will be, let me double check the date on that. I'm pretty sure it's July 22nd. So, but obviously that's a long way off, so.
It's a Friday, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a Friday. So that's going to be her birthday party. Her actual birthday is the 21st, but we're doing the party on the 22nd. So that'll be 4 weeks from today. So I'll put a reminder before when we're a little closer. Usually I will put the next game date in the Roll20 game, but I don't always remember, so don't panic if you don't see the next game scheduled. It doesn't mean we're not playing necessarily, unless I said we're not playing. And I strive to have a minimum of 3 players. So if I have 4 people absent on a given day, I will typically cancel. And I would like, if you need to bow out for a session, if you could try to give even just a few hours notice, like 4 hours of notice would be nice. And I'll try to do the same. Things happen sometimes. I know that. And you know that. So.
Those were the races I was thinking of.
Githyanki and Githzere. Yes. So, and I think you guys can upload your own tokens to your art library. That might have just rebooted the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can't. We don't have an art library as players, but they can go into their character sheet, hit the edit button at the top of their character sheet, and add it to their page.
Okay.
But as players, we don't have an art library.
Okay. But you have a way to upload your tokens to your
Yeah.
character sheet.
You just
Okay.
you still have to go and do all your DM stuff to it though.
Yep. As per the usual.
Yep.
And I'll do that sometime before we play next time. So. I do use dynamic lighting here and there if it's working. If it's griefing us, then I'll usually just turn it off. But I like to use it when I can. I've found that sometimes it works and sometimes it's just a turd.
So the remaining classes we have Druid, artificer and paladin.
Yeah, I think Moon is a paladin.
Okay.
So somebody was a druid, and then we have monk, barbarian, and wizard.
Okay. And then 6, you were doing the alchemist build, right?
Yep.
Okay. And Axiom, did you stick with the druid or did you change it? Guess we'll never know.
Seems like he stuck with the druid.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I don't want to do the same druid. Like, I'm trying to find decent images for. Different character.
Wasn't someone saying in the chat a couple days ago they were going to do an engineer? Is that somebody from the other group?
That might have been the other group. I'm not certain. Somebody was going to do an engineer. Did we already do that? Because I had a meeting with a couple new players for my other group earlier this week. It seems like it might have been one of them.
Guys, I'm getting off.
Hey, Six, that one photo that you liked, will you make me a token with it?
The one with the 2 swords?
Oh, the one with the 2 swords, and then that one with the starry owl thing.
The last one?
Well, I posted up a couple more. Since
Oh,
you
the
looked.
starry owl. Yeah, okay.
Or whichever one you thought was good.
Cool.
All right. I think we're basically done for the night, so probably going to be a few little odds and ends to tweak and perfect over the next week, but I think we're pretty much ready to play on Friday, the 1st.
Cool.
So I'm going to get on out of here, and and the other thing I do is we can of course use Discord to continue, whatever questions you might have or whatever you need to know. And then there's an in-character chat channel for us that's right under the general channel, and you can use that to role play between sessions, and it's a way of advancing the story a little bit between sessions if you want to use it. Sometimes players use it, sometimes I can't get anybody to use it. So it doesn't matter to me though. It's whatever you want to do.
Oh, I had one more question.
Yeah.
I'm the question guy. Would you be open to do like Zelle or Venmo instead of PayPal?
I don't have either of those, but I'm not necessarily closed to it per se.
All right, I'm just gonna. I asked the same question to my other DM, and they're actually in Brazil.